Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the FrostBytez gaming experience, part 25 of the Pokemon Blue walkthrough. So where we last left off in the last part was I was not even really halfway done with going through all the stats of the Safari Zone. We're going to finish that off today because in this part we're starting off by going against the not actual gym. This is a dojo area where you go against a lot of fighting types. I guess they wanted to have like a fighting type gym without making it an actual gym, so they made it a fake gym. Essentially, you're going against a bunch of fighting types, and in the end you either get yourself a Hitmonlee or a Hitmonchan, whichever one that you want to pick off of. Hitmonlee based on Bruce Lee, Hitmonchan based on Jackie Chan. One used a lot of kicks, that's where you get the kick from, and the Hitmonlee. The other one wanted to use a lot of punch, that's why you get the Hitmonchan, being the punch Pokemon and whatnot. Neither of which I'm going to be using for the team, spoiler warning. And it's just, you know, it means to get more levels, more experience for your Pokemon before tackling the Silph building, a giant-ass building with, I believe it's 11 floors? 13 floors? It's pretty, I know it's over 10 floors worth of different rockets to go against, so it's basically a really big, another video of, hey, we're going against nothing but trainers, you know, kind of deal. Except there's a little bit more than that. I mean, it's more Team Rocket, so it's like, yeah, okay, whatever sort of deal, and its gimmick is that they're the teleporters that have you go from one place to another, some other deals. We'll get into that a little bit later because during this portion I do want to get off the rest of the stats. Okay, so we went over the central area in the hub, which is where you first enter in the Safari Zone, in the east area, the first area to the right of it, just the grass. So we haven't gone into the fishing yet. We'll come back to that one a little bit later. You go north of that though. Well, I don't believe it's north of it. It's north of, like, the hub area. But once you go through it a bit to the top left portion of it, you then end up in Area 2, alright? So, in Area 2, in the red and blue version, you have a 15% chance to run to a Paris, 5% chance for a Venomoth, 20% chance for an Execute, 15% chance for a Rhyhorn, 4% chance for a Chansey, and a 1% chance for a Tauros. If you're playing the blue version, Nidoran female, 25% chance of running into, 10% chance it's a Nidorina, 5% chance for a Nidorino, and that is it. In the red version, it's a 5% chance for a Nidorina, 25% chance for a Nidoran male version, and a 10% chance for a Nidorino. Okay, and then in the yellow version, 50% chance for a Nidoran female version, a Nidorina, 10% chance, Nidoran male version, 25% chance, 50% chance for an Execute, 5% chance for a Cubone, 10% chance for a Rhyhorn, 50% chance for a Kangaskhan, 4% chance for a Scyther, and a 1% chance for a Pinsir. Alright, and then going into our last area, which is the area where you find the guy that gives you Surf in the first place, area number 3. More of about the same, a little bit differences though. All the Nidoran, Nidorina, Nidorino, all that stuff, all those percentages stay exactly the same. And I've been having so much problems going between saying Nidoran and Nidorina because, and I'm pretty sure it's Nidoran, but I keep wanting to say Nidoran, and it could even be Nidorina instead of Nidorina or something like that, or Nidorino and Nidorino. I don't know. I'm just doing it the way that I've always pronounced them, which I know is very bass-backwards, but whatever. We're moving on. So, red and blue version, everything that's not Nidoran, Nidoran, Nidorino, Nidorina, any of that. Red and blue version, Venonat, 50% chance of running into, 5% chance for a Venomoth, 15% chance for a Doduo, 20% chance for an Execute, 1% chance for a Kangaskhan, and a 4% chance for a Tauros. If you're looking at the yellow version, 20% chance for an Execute, 10% chance for a Cubone, 5% chance for a Marowak, 1% chance for a Tangela, 4% chance for a Pinsir, and 10% chance for a Tauros. So basically, like, besides the Nidoran family, that basically stays the same, it looks like, throughout all of it. The only really big difference is that, you know, Pinsir, Scyther, Tangela, in different areas and different versions, you can run into them. You can get yourself your Execute, Cubone, and Marowak if you're still wanting to go out of your way to get those. Tauros, Kangaskhan, Chansey, I believe this is the only areas that you are able to get them. I think even the Pinsir and the Scyther, you can only get them here. Rhyhorn you can get later on, but if you want a Rhyhorn relatively early, this would be the place to go ahead and get it. Paris and Parasect, I'm not 100% sure if this is the only place that you can get them, but again, if you want to get them really early, then there you go. But that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's not. And if I'm taking a look, it looks like, yeah, even with the fishing, it's very different depending on where you go. So let's go ahead and dive right into that. So going back to the central hub area, if you're fishing for an old rod, it's 100% chance for, guess what, a Magikarp. Who would have guessed? Good rod, 50% chance for a Poliwag, and a 50% chance for a Goldeen. And looking at it, it looks like for the old rod and the good rod, it's the exact same stats all across the board. So the only ones that are really going to change here is the super rod. Okay, so in the central area, Super Rod, red and blue version, 25% chance to get a Psyduck, 25% chance for a Slowpoke, 25% chance for a Krabby, and 25% chance for a Dratini, the big dragon Pokemon that everybody really wants to get. Yes, you gotta fish for one of those, because dragons love to go swimming too, I guess. Yellow version, Magikarp, 70% chance of catching one, 20% chance for a Dratini, and if you really want to get lucky, 10% chance for a Dragonair. If you want to skip that one level up and get yourself a Dragonair, doesn't matter, you still got to hit level 55 to get yourself a Dragonite, so have fun with that. Head over to the east area and doing your fishing, and let's see here, it looks exactly the same for the Super Rod as far as red and blue version goes. The only difference is that in the yellow version with the Super Rod, it's a 90% chance for a Magikarp and a 10% chance for a Dratini. So the central area where you first go into, Dragonair you have a chance of getting, but not if you go one area to the right. And taking a look, it looks like that's also the same for areas 2 and 3. So only the central hub area, it only has a Dragonair. So a little bit interesting. I don't ever recall during my time of playing the Safari Zone ever being able to fish out a Dragonair. Even in that area, it was always just a Dratini that I would sometimes catch. Maybe I just needed to fish a little bit more and it would have been different. Not 100% sure on that one, but you know, what else is new when it comes to me and doing these? But anyways, here we are. We are now in the Silph building. So in order to navigate this place easily, you got to get the key card here. Alright? And I know it said card key, but whatever. The only way to do that is by taking this teleporter and taking it a second time in order to walk on through in order to get it. And with that, you can open up every single one of these doors to your heart's content. Opening up new areas, get you some more items, go against more rockets, you know, more scientists that are working for Rocket, all that kind of stuff. Wanted to go to my way and get that immediately right out of the gate, because then I'm able to explore every single nook and cranny of the entire Silph building without, you know, really having the needs of having to backtrack any, you know. And again, for a lot of people, you kind of like, and let me just throw this one out there as well. So if you really want to go out of your way and, you know, not do any of this, and you just want the fastest route to get to the top, then you need to check out the speed run that James attempted back when he did Pokemon Red, that is on this channel. Did pretty good for a first outing trying to do it, and you know, we had a couple unlucky segments there, which I talked about in an early video. It's essentially, you know, you can get very unlucky going against your rival in one particular fight, and you never know what the switch combination is going to be in order to go against Lieutenant Surge in the first place. So, you know, what exactly can you do? But we were able to map out the fastest way to do the Silph building, or at least the fastest way that we knew how to do it while dodging just about every single rocket in the area. So if you don't care about every single nook and cranny of the Silph building and you just kind of really want a fast way to get on through with it, go check out that video. I don't remember exactly what part it is, but it should be relatively easy to find. It'll probably just be called Silph or something like that. I don't know exactly. All I do know is that if you do follow that walkthrough, well, speed run / walkthrough, you'll be able to just get up to going against Giovanni once again for the second time. Yeah, big spoiler warning, going against Giovanni again, but what else did you expect? Being able to go against him at, I believe it's at the top level, if I'm not exactly mistaken, obviously. So yeah, Team Rocket basically overtook this entire company because they kind of want technology made for them to continue on with their whole entire, you know, gang operation deal going on. One of the biggest ones is that once you're done with all of this, you get a prototype known as the Master Ball, the ball that is capable of capturing any Pokemon without fail. And you gotta think that's exactly what the main goal was, you know, they're basically trying to hijack all the technology to make as many of those as possible, because they're using Pokemon, you know, to basically train them, sell them to highest bidders, you know, and give them to scientists, run tests on them, all that kind of stuff, trying to find ways to make the ultimate Pokemon so then you can, say it with me now, rule the world, or at least rule the Pokemon world in this case anyways. And what easier way to do that than having, you know, a Pokeball that can essentially catch anything that you want instantly without having to worry about anything. You know, pretty decent, I would say, you know, and everyone knows exactly what we end up using that Master Ball for it because everyone in Gen 1 did it, of course. Although, if you're like me, going down into the story of, hey, Will was kind of an idiot when it came to Pokemon when he first started playing it. So, playing in Gen 2, when I got the Master Ball, it's so sad. I don't know what it was. As a kid, there was something about Electabuzz that I was like, man, this is so cool. I really, really want one. And when I ran into one, I made sure that I caught it no matter what. The very first Master Ball I ever got in the history of playing Pokemon was Gen 2 Gold, and I used that Master Ball to catch an Electabuzz. Only to then decide I'm not as big of a fan as I originally thought, and put him in the PC. Yeah. Yep, so the first Master Ball I used was just to catch an Electabuzz, just to put him in the PC later on anyways. Yeah, Will was not exactly the smartest kid back in the day. And you really sort of seen, like, James's reaction when when he's like, oh, why don't you try and catch, Ho-Oh or Lugia using the Master Ball? And I'm like, well, I already used that on Electabuzz. And he was like, really? Are you kidding me here? And I can't say as I blame the guy because, yeah, am I kidding myself there? Using a Master Ball on an Electabuzz. And I don't even know if it was just because I didn't have any other Pokeball at the time, or maybe I tried using Ultra Balls and Great Balls and it just wasn't working, and so I just said, forget it, I'm just going to use the Master Ball. You got me. I don't know. But I've always found it very interesting that no matter what generation of Pokemon it is that you play, there is always one Master Ball. Only one Master Ball that is capable of being used. So it's like every single region has one Master Ball, basically meaning that the technology is out there to make a lot of these, because you're able to make one for every single region. I guarantee it's not the only one that's ever made, because from what I remember, they also talk about it just being experimental technology, but the fact of the matter is, it works. And if it's not the only place that's working on it, then how come we don't have an entire, Master Ball company sort of thing? Is it a worry on a monopoly? Are we going to be putting mom and pop stores out of business because, oh, we can't afford to sell Master Balls, so we can only, sell off basic Pokeballs and Great Balls, and, this company here is selling Master Balls, and everyone's going out of their way to buy those instead, and now all of a sudden I'm completely out of a, business and a job because of the fact that, I can't afford to sell Master Balls here or something like that. But then if you think about it, if you can't afford to sell them, then people can't exactly afford to buy them either. If it's a ball that can instant catch just about anything, that's probably worth billions, and we're just going to give it to some 10-year-old kid because, I don't know, he was strong enough to save us, I guess. I don't know exactly. But because we're able to find it in just about every single region, let's just take all the scientists that, and engineers and whatnot that have been coming together to make this Master Ball thing and put them all together in one big factory and just make a whole entire endless supply of Master Balls. Why can't we have that? Like, I mean, even if it was like in the shops, they sold it for a ridiculous amount of money, I'll be willing to go on my way and grind for the money that's needed in order to get myself as many Master Balls as needed. I can recall playing, it was Heart Gold Soul Silver again, and the hardest situation I ever had in catching one of the legendaries was against Rayquaza. I used the Master Ball to catch the Mewtwo of that game, but then found out that Rayquaza was like one of the hardest things to catch. I think I spent 3 weeks continuously trying to catch it. I think I logged in before, oh my god, I know we talked about it numerous times, or at least me and James have brought up and talked about it numerous times, but we ended up restarting our Heart Gold Soul Silver games. This is a long time ago. I was still in college at the time. We ended up restarting it just because, which is really dumb, because I lost a lot of really good Pokemon that I had on that game, and it made me really sad. But before then, I think I had logged in 800 hours into Heart Gold before resetting it, and I'm pretty sure 200 of that 800 hours was me trying to catch Rayquaza. And I really wish that was a joke. But it seriously took that long. And that's probably not even like, continuing... That's probably not even including the fact that there was obviously a lot of resets, too. You know, where it's like, oh, I used 40 Ultra Balls and this many Great Balls and Net Balls and this... You know, I crafted so many different types of Pokeballs and had so many Ultra Balls and so much of everything to catch this damn Rayquaza that eventually, you know, it's just like, okay, you know, I'm just going to save and, like, restart and all that stuff so I can keep them all. But even then, you know, there were some times where it's like, all right, forget it, I'm just going to go do something else and I'll come back later. You know, so I'm pretty sure I spent well over, like, 20 plus hours worth of fighting Rayquaza to try to catch it. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was about Rayquaza in that game that made it so difficult to catch, because it was such a pain in the ass to try and catch that thing. The Lugia I had no problem. Ho, I had no problem. I think the only thing that was an issue with the legendary dogs was just running into them in the first place, but then after that, I was usually able to catch them due to, like, Arena Trap with Dugtrio or using Mean Look or something like that in order to keep them in. Although, supposedly, they still had a means of fleeing away, except for it was Dugtrio's Arena Trap that, you know, kept them there no matter what. But every single legendary that I ever went against was so easy for me to catch, and yet Kyogre and Groudon included, like, they were relatively easy. It took me maybe a couple hours, whatever, but Rayquaza, that Rayquaza would just not give up. And at the end of the day, it was one of the random net balls that finally caught it, and I don't remember if James was with me at the time, but I'm pretty sure it was the loudest victory scream I ever did in my entire life. And that's not a joke. And I've had a lot of really good things happen in my life that had me do, like, victory screams or any kind of victory something, celebrations, anything to that avail. I don't think I've ever victory screamed louder than when I caught that Rayquaza after hours and hours of attempting to catch it. It was ridiculous. Like, I could not believe how hard it was. And would you believe me if I told you that Rayquaza is my favorite legendary Pokemon? Which is, I think, is why I was so determined on catching it. Because it's like, you are my favorite. You are going to be in my Pokedex if I have to kill you to do it. Like, it was getting so insanely obnoxious trying to catch this Rayquaza. I think it almost took him out of favor as my favorite legendary Pokemon, which he kind of still is. But I throw that in, like, two separate categories. I'm the kind of person that, like, if I have multiple favorites, I like to put them in different categories. So, like, I would say Rayquaza is just my favorite legendary Pokemon. But then Celebi, that I also consider my favorite legendary Pokemon, is more of my favorite cute legendary Pokemon. As it seems like, you know, Pokemon is, the legendaries are split between two categories. You got the legendaries that are, you'd much rather have it as a pet. And then you have the other ones that are like, oh, I want this in a battle. You know, kind of like Mewtwo is the one you want in a battle, but Mew is one that you would want to have as a pet. Although I do know that Mew is actually really good in the competitive scene as well, apparently. But it's like, you know, I kind of generalize them as that. So in that case, you know, Celebi is, you know, the cute one of Gen 2, and I absolutely love it. So it's definitely one of my favorite legendaries in that aspect. But my favorite, just pure legendary Pokemon is easily Rayquaza. I've got the Rayquaza EX. I don't think it's Mega. No, it's just a normal Rayquaza EX. When I bought the whole entire, like, TCG, like, box thing that had the Rayquaza EX deal, and out of all of them, I've never cared about any of the giant cards, with the Rayquaza one I cared about because, yeah, I love Rayquaza. I also do know that some people go the way and say that it's pronounced Rayquaza, and I say, shut up, you're wrong, it's Rayquaza. I do believe that it's one of those it's either or kind of deals. It's not like, you know, when I mispronounce, let's go back in time again, pronouncing Ridley as Ridley, which was just a really stupid thing that I really did when I was a kid, and it stuck with me all the way up until college or so. Well, that's just a pure mispronunciation. It's not, it can be one way or another. It's no, you're just flat out wrong. Supposedly, Rayquaza can be Rayquaza or Rayquaza, depending on how you want to pronounce it, I guess, but I've never cared. I don't care how the anime pronounces it or how any other way pronounces it. It's Rayquaza to me, and it'll stay that way, and if you feel otherwise, well, you're just flat out wrong. That's just always the way I've seen it. But it's also funny because I always thought that Metagross was actually pronounced Metagross, and I think that's one of those where it's like calling it Metagross is just flat out wrong, but it always felt, I don't know, it felt cooler to me. I don't know. I guess that's just me. But anyways, yeah, that's going to do it. I'm kind of going through a little bit of PTSD, thinking about the whole entire trying to catch Rayquaza and all that. But that's only about half of what the Silph Co building is. The other half we'll be tackling on the next part. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't going to get old anytime soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Catch you guys in the next part.